What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. Thanks so much for being with me. I'm going to talk about how your nootropic results could be much better. I'm going to give you a couple examples of stacks that people are taking and what they're doing, what the stacks are doing, and then what we did to resolve the issue and make the stacks a lot better. Pretty simple changes, but kind of goes deep into the neuroscience-based approach to taking nootropics, which is essentially what we talk about on this channel. In the meantime, everything that we put out on this channel is brought to you by a couple epic nootropic products. Number one, the Cortex stack. Powerful pre-made nootropic stack. We just got a new batch, so those of you that have been waiting for auto ship on Cortex, go do it now. We've got a ton of Cortex to get rid of, and now at this point we got a good handful of people that are getting auto ship every month. And by handful, I mean about 200. Auto ship gets you Cortex for cheaper, shipped to your doorstep automatically every month. Do it at livecortex.com. If you're new to Nootropics, Nootropics Ground Zero is where you have to start. It's a video course that I created for people that are new. Nootropics Masterclass is a step up from that. Want to take yourself to the 6-year mark, get that. If you're a guy that has to race test, Viking Testosterone Protocol. Probably one of my favorite things to work with men on, because it's just so important to have high test. You'll live longer, among a bunch of other things. If you want to work with me on a one-on-one basis, we've got slots open for that, either the 3.5 month or the 6 month intensive. These are primarily targeted toward business people who need the edge in productivity and brain performance. Basically, we'll supercharge every single facet of your functioning so that you can be a productivity beast and feel good and function awesomely by either one of those packages, 6 months or 3.5 at livecortex.com. Okay. Your nootropic results can be much better. Okay, this is always the case. Like for everybody that sort of comes to me to work with me on nootropics, like they've gotten particular results like with certain stacks, and then when we overhaul their entire regimen, but then work specifically on some of the stacks that they do like and have gotten benefit from, we almost invariably get to the point where we're doing a lot better with those stacks, where the stacks are more sustainable. They can even take them a tad more often, but generally they get a better effect from the stacks that they've been trying, and there's no side effects, right? These are the kind of things that if you understand the neuroscience-based approach on everything, meaning how receptor sites function, how the transporters function, to maintenance all of that over time, you get better results. So I'm just going to jump right to examples. Example number one, a person takes modafinil 3 times weekly, okay? Not suggesting that, nor not suggesting that. You know, modafinil is a very powerful chemical. But they do it 2 days in a row, Monday and Tuesday. So Monday and Tuesday, they're taking modafinil, and then they skip a couple days and then take modafinil on Friday. It just happens to be that this person's schedule requires the most kind of brain output on Monday and Tuesday, and then also on Friday. Both Wednesday and Thursday, so these are the days after user takes the modafinil stack. It's just modafinil. It's 200 milligrams of modafinil. And Saturday, which is the other day after Friday where they take the modafinil, are bad days for the person. Lethargy, lack of motivation, sex drive decreases. They just kind of don't feel like themselves. Immediately off the bat of them telling me that, I understood what was going on. The reason is dopamine reserve depletion, right? There are reservoirs of neurotransmitters that if you're forcing them to release from an agent that's forcing extracellular quantities of that transmitter, well, look, it's got to come from somewhere, right? And if you're not uber conscious of getting tyrosine or phenylalanine in your diet so you can make more dopamine, you're going to run into some sort of temporary reserve depletion. That happens to people sometimes after just one dose of modafinil. But this guy's kind of pushing it, doing Monday and Tuesday, and then taking a break and not repleting any of the transmitter, and then doing it again on Friday. So the solution simply was actually just a mucuna supplement, and that's really my first go-to. There are other options for that, but we'll just couch it there. 200 to 300 milligrams of a mucuna supplement that's, you know, standardized like 10-15% L-DOPA. On the day of taking the modafinil, all 3 days, so Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, 2 hours after dosing. So that's what we do. I've got them bringing in mucuna at 200 to 300 milligrams 2 hours after dosing the modafinil. Then the modafinil kicks in, it starts to force that extra dopamine release, but then you're repleting it a couple hours later. It doesn't really mess with the effects. It just sort of keeps it synergized and ultimately keeps the effects kind of going. But the most important part of it is on Wednesday and Thursday, the guy doesn't feel like crap, feels pretty much normal, as well as on Saturday and Sunday doesn't feel like crap, feels pretty much normal. Okay, so that's example number one of just making slight changes, understanding the neuroscience behind what you're doing, and then ensuring really continuity in the efficacy of stacks and prevention of side effects. The second example is a person that's taking a trio Racetam complex daily. Okay, now this is not something that I suggest. This is a person that I'm not working with. It's just an old friend of mine who reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm getting side effects from this, but I really like this trio Racetam stack. Predominantly, though, it's because he's taking an anticholinergic anxiety pharmaceutical medication, and he really, at this point, cannot afford, not financially, but can't afford, like, mentally to go off of the anti-anxiety drug. And that makes sense. Some people get trapped in those situations. So, like, how do you work with it in the meantime? The primary negative effects that this person is getting is like, yeah, the stack actually affects them well. It's aniracetam, oxiracetam, and phenylpiracetam, a gram each of oxiracetam, aniracetam, 200 of phenylpiracetam, no choline source. Basically, he's relying on eggs and beef for choline. That's been the strategy prior, and the stack gives him a good effect, but sometimes he gets lethargic. Sometimes he gets a headache. At the end of the night, usually, like the workday is over, he's left with a headache. And you might think, oh, that's just because he went to work and he's working. The guy works at a production factory. And yeah, it just gives him a headache. Probably not true. The case is a choline mismatch, and there's something that we have to do about it. So the solution was, instead of adding a choline source to this guy's stack, which he takes when he goes to work, he works kind of a night shift. It's like 4 or 5 p.m. till like 2 in the morning or something like this. Instead of having him take the choline with the stack, I just make sure that every 2 days he's taking in the morning when he wakes up with a B complex, 250 milligrams of citicoline. That's what we ended up on. The reason I chose citicoline for this particular person is because of the long half-life. We're talking about 24 to 48 hours, depending on who you ask and how you're absorbing it, and the absolute bioavailability. It's like 97% or something when you take citicoline. Like, it absorbs very, very effectively. So that's all this person needs to solve that issue. I've seen templates like this before. It's really just about a proper infusion of the right neurotransmitter at the right time and the right quantity. So every 2 days, and this guy takes this Racetam stack every day, 7 days a week. It's just like, needs his memory, he needs to function well because he's taking the anti-anxiety every day. And this puts him in a really, really great place where he's functional, he has his memory, has his processing, the anxiety's under control, but his general processing is working. And now at this point, it took about a week and a half to just sort of regulate everything. But now there's no more lethargy, there's no more headaches after work. It's basically just it's smooth sailing for the guy. He's like on a regimen, he feels awesome, wakes up feeling awesome. Takes the stack, feels awesome. The citicoline is in the background every 2 days, repleting choline stores, making sure signaling is functioning properly, and the guy is pretty much back to normal. Simple change, but it's about knowing, again, the dose and the frequency. When looking at bioavailability for things like citicoline, like, we know that it's super absolute and its absorbability, and we know that it basically has a long half-life. So that is what we did in that particular case to solve that person's problem. Again, pretty simple changes. Last example, person takes a stack of 250 milligrams of phenylpiracetam, pretty high dose, 50 milligrams modafinil, 50 milligrams alpha GPC. Only does this once or twice a week, but gets anxiety. Okay, so it was this person's idea, based on listening to some of the nootropics rhetoric that is out there, to add ashwagandha to that phenylpiracetam, modafinil, alpha GPC stack. So he added 2 grams. Okay, so 2 grams of ashwagandha with 250 of phenylpiracetam, 50 of modafinil, 50 of alpha GPC, because he was experiencing anxiety before he added the ashwagandha. This did not help. In fact, what it did is put ashwagandha so overpowered in the mix that the level of productivity that the person was experiencing prior to bringing the ashwagandha in, even though he had anxiety, was much higher. So essentially, the ashwagandha kind of nullified the effects of the, of the drive to do work. And that's common with ashwagandha. You got to be really careful with that. I really only take it these days if I do not want to work, if I just sort of want to chill, or before sleep or something, if I just want an extra bit of good solid sleep, or if there's extra anxiety going on that I really need to quell, and like saffron's not cutting it, or other things aren't cutting it. Ashwagandha usually helps, but rarely do I pair it in high doses with racetams or stimulant stacks, because it usually does nullify the stack. So what we did is we removed the ashwagandha completely. I think it was a bad idea in this stack. Like, we tried scaling it down, and really we still kind of got similar results. We just couldn't balance it out. So I changed the approach completely. The 250 of phenylpiracetam, the 50 of modafinil, the 50 of GPC stayed in, but with it, 30 minutes after the administration of the stack, we simply just added 100 milligrams of lemon balm, which is basically going to keep some GABA around to sort of chill things out, and 350 milligrams of magnesium, which is GABA receptor agonist essentially. So it's giving you that sort of GABA feel. And that worked. Now we had to start a little lower than that and then titrate up on the lemon balm and the magnesium, but ultimately we came to 100 of lemon balm and then 350 of magnesium. I think it's magnesium citrate, just capsules, veggie capsules. And that does it, right? Gets the effect from the modafinil, phenylpiracetam, alpha GPC, does not have the anxiety, and there's no inhibition on productivity, right? Just simple things that over time you sort of understand what every compound is doing, what the neuroscience behind it is, and if you're running into one problem or another, or stack isn't quite perfect, I mean, there's so many ways to make it better. You just sort of have to know what chemistry is awry. And in the particular case of this stack, I just needed a little bit of GABA fostering so that that extra GABAergic signaling can just kind of get a little bit of control over that excessive stuff that was causing him to have chest heaviness and anxiety. And in that situation, it's not fun. You really can't even focus in that state, okay? So those are 3 examples of how you can make your nootropic stacks better. There are so many more. It's really the basis of what we put in Nootropics Ground Zero, Nootropics Masterclass, Smarter, Better, Faster, all of the digital products, courses, books that we sell on livecortex.com. So go pick those up if you're unsure about anything. All the descriptions on what the products do, what they are, what's in them is on each of those pages. Go get them, livecortex.com. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Cortex Stack, either buy singularly or do auto ship. livecortex.com. If you do auto ship, you get it for $27.99 a month. That is cheaper. You don't have to do anything. It just automatically ships to your doorstep every month. Best way to buy Cortex is definitely auto ship. Again, Nootropics Ground Zero if you're new. If you got benefit from this and you're really looking to get further into some of the nuanced stuff about nootropics to make your experience better, get Nootropics Ground Zero, Nootropics Masterclass to ascend to the 6-year mark, VTP for men that need to upgrade testosterone. And then lastly, look, if you're a business person and you want to work with me on this, or if you're a person that's into nootropics and productivity, and you've got a whole lot of work to do and you really want to fully upgrade your responses to nootropics, or even start with nootropics with me, and make your performance substantially better. Either go with 3.5 months or 6 months. There are open slots on that, always limited. Get that stuff at livecortex.com. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Talk to you next time.